Now at 10 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, lots of rain hitting all parts of the crossroads with more to come.
There's a local place for people who need to get out of the rain.
And the Victoria Police Department is changing its policy on funeral escorts, what it means for funeral homes and families.
Beneficial rain, no doubt. However, it is going to be a little sloppy tomorrow as the shower activity will be on and off. Now, we are also expecting some severe thunderstorms to develop. This isn't over with, just the beginning. We'll talk more about it coming up in a moment.
And the Houston Roughnecks ready for a big 2025 season. We'll hear from their head coach and one of the star wide receivers coming up in sport.
You're watching 25 News Now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Shawna Currie.
And I'm Don Brubaker.
Well, we are keeping an eye on the rain tonight. It's been coming down.
And still coming down. And it's alert day. Let's go to Mac Pettis with the first look at the forecast and the latest look at how much rain we got, Mac.
Absolutely. Well, obviously it was a real different day for us. We have the alert flags up because this is not over with for Thursday and Friday. All counties in the crossroads, we've got to expect heavy rainfall, possibly 5 to 7 inches more than what we got today, and some hail and strong winds up to 60 miles an hour. Severe thunderstorms are even possible in our area. But for this moment, there's the city, and you can see how the tops of the thunderstorms have begun to decrease in intensity. You can see how they lower, and that means that we don't see any severe, no thunder, no lightning, nothing like that. That's sort of settling down, but it's not settling down to the south. In fact, some vicious thunderstorms rolling right along the Rio Grande Valley, right about there. You can see it coming down here. These are very strong, and there's more behind that. So let's just say the next 2 days will be on the soggy side, and we'll have more on that coming up in just a few minutes. Back to you.
Mac, thank you. And for those without shelter from this weather, that could mean a rough time ahead as rain moves through the crossroads.
The best thing that you can do is find shelter and stay dry. But as 25 News Now reporter Ray Mosley explains, for those who don't have a place to go, that's not so simple.
I expect folks will be flocking into the Life Enrichment Center to get off the street.
For those without a place to stay, that could mean some tough days ahead. Salvation Army Captain Kenny Jones is urging residents experiencing homelessness to find shelter and stay dry.
If you're homeless and on the street, the best thing is just to seek shelter. And you can come to our homeless shelter or you can come to our Life Enrichment Center.
He's also making sure people have what they need to stay protected, offering rain gear and even trash bags to help keep dry.
It's very important to me that folks take this seriously and that they get out of the weather. This is what we're here for.
He hopes people don't wait until it's too late because the rain isn't letting up anytime soon. Ray Mosley, KAVU TV, 25 News Now.
Captain Kenny says any and everybody is welcome to stop in at the Salvation Army Life Enrichment Center. That's at 1306 North Lewis Street during the day to get out of the rain. The day before the rain hit, Refugio County Commissioners extended a burn ban for another 30 days. The current ban was set to expire tomorrow. The ban prohibits outdoor burning in Refugio County until April 26th. People who violate the ban can be fined up to $500. Police escorts for funerals in Victoria are a tradition, but that tradition is about to end.
25 News Now reporter Amaya Norman is here with details. Amaya?
Yes, Shawna and Dawn, a significant change is coming to Victoria Police Department starting Monday, April 14, 2025. VPD will temporarily suspend routine funeral escorts for funeral homes. While some understand the strain on police resources, others see it as a loss of meaningful services. A long-standing tradition is coming to a halt. Victoria Police says they're suspending routine funeral escorts.
I'm not concerned about losing the 12,000. I'm more concerned about having officers available to respond to calls.
The Victoria Police Department says this decision was made out of necessity, citing officer shortages and vehicle availability as key factors.
We haven't really dove that deep into it, other than it is a time taker. And we're spending a lot of time for the amount of return.
Some funeral directors expresses Police escorts are not only a tradition, but also provides a sense of respect and security for grieving families.
You know, it's an honor to have their loved one escorted and to have traffic stop for their loved one. It's not only a sign of reverence for the deceased, but it's also a sign of respect for the family as well. So,
funeral homes in the community agree and understand the concerns that the VPD has when it comes to responding to calls and the need for their police officers.
That is obviously a concern on our side, and I would say ours, meaning all the funeral homes have a concern. I will tell you that it will have to be announced at every service before you leave the facility, whether it's at the funeral home or at a church, that everyone will have to abide by the traffic safety laws.
Now, funeral homes are responsible for reminding families to obey traffic laws during funeral processions.
If it was your loved one in a vehicle accident, you would want the first responders to be there as soon as they could. So it's going to be an obstacle that's going to take time to get adjusted to.
Officials says their priority must remain on public safety and ensuring officers can respond when needed. Amaya Norman, KAVU TV, 25 News Now. The Victoria Police Department will review the situation again in the future. Shawna and Dawn, back to you.
Thank you, Amaya. A lightning strike triggers a blast at a North Texas oil tank farm. Several oil tanks caught fire north of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Some of the tanks even blew off their foundations. It took fire crews about an hour and a half to put out the blaze. No injuries were reported.
State Senator District 18 Lois Kolkhorst is talking about why she filed a bill proposing the transfer of the University of Houston Victoria to the Texas A&M University system. In a statement to 25 News Now, Senator Kolkhorst said after listening to local stakeholders, she filed the UHV transfer bill. Senator Kolkhorst said with Texas A&M, the campus will be able to offer degrees in engineering and agribusiness that are not currently available in the area. Senator Kolkhorst added she is pleased to receive the support of the Victoria City Council, County Judge, and Commissioner's Court. The Victoria County Commissioner's Court voted unanimously Monday to support the transfer. Senator Kolkhorst's full statement is on our website, crossroadstoday.com. And this brings us to our viewer poll today. Now, do you think the police departments should handle funeral escorts? The choices rather, yes, police should handle funeral escorts. No, private services should handle it only if it does not interfere with public safety. Or it depends on the situation. Well, 73% of our voters say yes, police should handle funeral escorts. Long-time tradition. And we want to hear from you. Visit crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part. And we thank you for voting.
It is time to get ready to vote. And we're talking about the actual elections, not our viewer poll. You must be registered by April 3rd to vote in the May election. Early voting runs April 22nd through April 29th. Mail-in ballot applications are due by April 22nd, and Election Day is May 3rd.
The Texas Senate budget proposal aligns closely with the House's first budget draft, signaling lawmakers are on the same page about how much money to spend and where it should go. To read this full Texas Tribune article, visit our website, crossroadstoday.com.
The woman convicted of killing Tejano star Selena is up for parole this Sunday. Yolanda Saldivar, now 64, is serving a life sentence for Selena's 1995 murder. It's been nearly 30 years since Selena confronted Saldivar at a Corpus Christi hotel about stolen money when the shooting happened. Selena collapsed in the lobby and later died at the hospital. Saldivar was sentenced to life but became eligible for parole after 30 years. She is currently held in Gatesville, Texas. A reunion 9 months in the making. Astronaut Butch Wilmore is back with his family after staying in space much longer than he thought he would.
Absolutely, but his family says the missed birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays were worth it just to have him home now.
Very happy. Yes, because we weren't sure it would happen because, something can always delay, go wrong. So we were absolutely thrilled.
A return home the family of Butch Wilmore had been waiting for since June of last year. They got to chat daily over a call from space, but last week, after finally landing back on Earth, this family from Tennessee was reunited once again.
Not a lot of talking. It was a lot of hugging and just, enjoying the moment.
This University of Tennessee graduate is still doing testing with NASA, but is back home with his family, who now live in Texas. More than 9 months in space, taking a toll.
Barry does say gravity is not his friend right now. And, the stamina is not there. And so they do have to rest, relax quite a bit, because they're just not strong yet.
For months, his return wasn't certain, an 8-day trip lasting much longer. Wilmore missed anniversaries, Christmas, and birthdays, but he'll now be home to see his daughter Logan graduate from high school this year. A family who typically tries to avoid the spotlight, thankful for all the support they've gotten.
From East Tennessee and all over the world, really, we had so many people tell us they were praying for it. And so we certainly appreciate all of those, because we know that the Lord answers prayers and that he brought Crew 9 home safely, and those prayers definitely help do the job.
Here's some of the top headlines you can read in the Port Lavaca Wave. The Seadrift City Council explores the possibility of a new waste disposal provider, and a kayaker visits Port O'Connor during her trip around North America. You can read these stories and more at portlavacawave.com.
Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, Americans are rethinking a TikTok ban. A look at what's behind the change of heart.
Also ahead, copper prices soar to a record high amid speculation that President Trump may impose tariffs on imports.
Get ready for the madness. Think you know college hoops? Prove it. Enter the Final Four Frenzy presented by Coastal Bend College. Put your bracket up against sports director Max Williams and weekend sports reporter Ray Robinson. Dribble on over to crossroadstoday.com to enter on the contest page. Win it all and score a family 4-pack with a hotel stay and a round-up golf for 2 at Moody Gardens in Galveston. The Final Four Frenzy presented by Coastal Bend College. Brackets lock soon. Enter now.
An elite honor for an elite class of heroes. More than 40 million people have served in the U.S. military.
But less than 4,000 have been honored with the Medal of Honor. A museum is now open in North Texas to tell their stories. Here's ABC's Danny New.
America owes you a debt of gratitude, son.
You may remember in Forrest Gump when Forrest is awarded America's highest military decoration on the battlefield, the Medal of Honor. Well, today, on National Medal of Honor Day, a museum officially opens in Arlington, Texas to honor the fewer than 4,000 heroes who have received this distinction in real life.
We're very proud to honor them in this new museum.
Museum President Chris Cassidy here is a retired astronaut who served in the Navy until 2021, when he says he hung up his uniform and immediately joined this project.
The President of the United States meets so many extraordinary individuals.
Right around that time, a bipartisan effort, including former presidents, began to fundraise to open this national institution that could tell the stories of those who have received this medal awarded by Congress and presented by the president. Now, if you've ever received one,
that was one of those moments where don't remember a whole lot. It was a big whirlwind.
Retired Army Staff Sergeant Clint Romeshay received his Medal of Honor from President Obama in 2013, 4 years after saving many of his comrades' lives during an ambush in Afghanistan.
You're looking at someone who understands the meaning of sacrifice.
Groundbreaking for the museum began in 2022 with President George W. Bush in attendance. Then began the construction of the 4 pillars holding it up in honor of the 4 military branches that have received the medal. As it opens today, the museum spans more than 100,000 square feet, but this section right here is the part that Chris says gives him chills. It's a 360-degree theater honoring the 61 Medal of Honor recipients who are still alive today.
They, in those circumstances, took an unbelievable action.
All veterans have free admission at the museum this whole first week. And by the way, the first Medals of Honor were presented during the Civil War in 1863. In New York, for ABC News, I'm Danny New.
Support for a TikTok ban is fading. A new Pew survey shows only 34% of U.S. adults back the idea. That's down from 50% last year. Supporters worry about data security and Chinese ownership, while opponents see it as a free speech issue. Both parties have cooled on a ban, though Republicans are still more likely to support it. Meanwhile, President Trump has floated the idea of a U.S. buyout with an April deadline for TikTok's parent company to find a new owner.
Copper prices hit a record high. The surge came after news reports that President Donald Trump may impose tariffs on copper imports in the coming weeks. Wall Street had been projecting tariffs later in the year. Prices for the metal have soared in 2025, and economists say it's largely driven by buyers stockpiling copper due to tariff speculation. Last month, Trump signed an executive order to investigate the national security risks tied to importing copper. The metal is widely used in construction and manufacturing. It has other essential uses in electronics, energy, and defense.
Today, the U.S. Supreme Court signaled that it might uphold programs aimed at bringing high-speed internet to rural and low-income communities. At issue is the structure of the Federal Communication Commission's funding for the project. Congress created the Universal Service Fund in 1996 to pay for the programs, but a challenge from a conservative group claims the fund is unconstitutional and violates separation of powers principles. Wednesday, several of the court's conservatives, along with all of its liberals, raised questions about making a ruling that could upend the way other federal agencies function. A decision is expected in June. Another batch of Starlink satellites are on their way to orbit. The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket liftoff from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, carrying 27 V2 mini satellites to low Earth orbit. This was the 24th flight for the first stage booster, which landed back safely on a drone ship stationed in the Pacific Ocean, about 8 minutes into the mission.
Here's a look at some of the top stories in the Cuero Record. The May election is coming up with 3 local races on the ballot. And if you're a history buff, there's a book release event that you won't want to miss. You can read these stories and more at DeWittCountyToday.com.
Well, good evening, everybody. Right now we're at 68 degrees. Obviously, the rain was a big change from our weather pattern that we've had for what, 6 months. The last real rain we had was last January. So all of a sudden, 1.36 officially for the afternoon out at the airport. Obviously, other areas had a lot more than that. We'll be talking about all this because we continue with the Flash Flood Watch all the way to Friday. All that coming up in a moment. Well, good evening, everyone. A sight for sore eyes to get some real rain around here. In January, we had 1.74 inches in one day, and today we got pretty close to that. So it's the most significant rain we've seen in a while. Important for a lot of things. Now, I understand that tomorrow you wanted to do this, and that, but it's going to be pretty sloppy and quite rainy. And of course, the problem now that we have is that some of these storms could become severe as the real area of low pressure starts rolling into this area. Now, here's Victoria right there in the center. You can see how the tops of the storms are beginning to come down. Now, that's a sign that it's basically losing some of its energy, and therefore it'll continue to rain overnight, but it is not completely over with just yet, because if you look down south, we've got some monster storms rolling around in the valley. This one's coming through Zapata and getting near, I guess that would be Rio Grande City. It looks like a severe thunderstorm there. Another very heavy one just off of Kingsville. And then in northern Mexico, we got to look at these too, because all that is part of this big storm that's rolling around our area. There you see the first band that came through the city. It gave us a pretty good widespread rain shower activity. Now we're going to watch these two. These, for the time being, are moving east, so that's not the factor. But if I widen up, you can see where there's still all this moisture coming up here and then begins to rotate right about there. And that's why we're getting all this lifting and all this rain. We were in a drought. And all of a sudden, in less than 2-3 days, a lot of that might be forgiven. The thing is, you know that Canyon Lake and Choke Canyon and Amistad Lake, Falcon Dam, and Amistad and Del Rio are all very low, and so a good rain like this is important. It's kind of funny, but it's a tropical storm coming from the wrong direction because of the amount of rain that we're getting. Now, tomorrow is going to be interesting. We are in a very slight, marginal chance of a thunder shower or two possible right about here. But the heavy stuff really will be below that, down toward the Brownsville area. And then we look at, this is the rainfall over the last 12 hours. That gives you a real good idea. Now here's Victoria. You can see 1, 2, 3 inches in the purple. So in the purple, just away from the city here in the county, we got purple and then we got red. So somebody down there near Refugio got about 3-4 inches of rainfall today, and Beeville got pretty good dousing as well. So all this is just great stuff. This is what the doctor ordered. We needed to break that pattern that we had that kept us on the dry side. Now we're going forward in time here, and you can see that this model puts a bullseye over our area. So it is not over with just yet. This is the first day, and then Thursday, Friday, and then we finally clear up as we get to the weekend. So let's take a look at your day planner for tomorrow. Looks fairly wet. I think you're going to be indoors, even in Port Lavaca, because we're looking for rain all day. Temperature is dropping down into the 70s because of the shower activity. And in Cuero, well, there's not a whole lot of field work we're going to do there because it's going to be soggy and rainy and only getting up to about 67 as a high temperature. So obviously we have the alert day for tomorrow because shower activity will be on and off, and we could see another 2 inches of rain, and it begins to pile up. And then again on Friday, most of the activity will be early in the day. By Friday night, I do believe the storm will start pulling away. And so that leaves us in a fairly good Saturday, Sunday. Be a little soggy, a little muddy, but it's good. We needed the rain because a rose has thorns, you know? I mean, it's the good news and the bad news. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that, put Crossroads Today on your phone. And now we'll toss it over to Maxwell with sports.
That's right, Mac. After the break, we're going to look at one top signing here in the Crossroads. We'll see who that is coming up in Port. All right, happy Wednesday night here, Crossroads. In a matter of moments, we'll look at our Roughnecks preview package that I did. But before that, we're going to head to Cuero, where we had senior Aubrey Bowles signed to Western New Mexico University to play basketball and to future her academic career. Bowles is one of the top leaders and scorers overall, and great player for the Lady Gobblers. Made it all the way to the 4A Division II state championship. Bowles thanked head coach Amy Crane, all of her teammates, and everyone in Gobbler community. Congrats to Bowles and wish her luck at Western New Mexico University. Now, over to our Houston Roughnecks patch, where the Roughnecks last year finished 1-9 last season, are looking to start strong this Friday at 7 p.m. at home versus St. Louis Battlehawks. Here's a future preview story about the team going into this season.
Now you're probably thinking, more football, Max, in March? Just why? Well, because why not? One of our area teams here in Texas, in the Houston Roughnecks, are looking to bounce back after going 1-9 last year. Their head coach, Curtis Johnson, has 40 years of coaching experience and has taught Hall of Fame players in Andre Johnson, Devin Hester, and Ed Reed. He really likes the current state of the quarterback room this year and knows it will be a competition.
They can throw it. So Jake McClendon, man, he could throw it far. He could throw it. He's pretty accurate. He's in the pocket. He gets in the pocket. He does a good job. But the other two, Nolan Henderson and Anthony Brown, not only can they throw it, now they don't have the arm that Jaden has, but man, they are extremely accurate passers, but they can run.
With Coach liking what he sees at the quarterback room right now, he still doesn't know who will be the day one starter here on Friday. But one player who will start is former Texas Tech wide receiver in TJ Vasher. Before Vasher played in the UFL, he was an undrafted free agent to the Dallas Cowboys for only 2 months until he got cut in August of 2022. He talks about how that small amount of time with the Cowboys was for him.
Especially coming in at that time, I don't think there was a lot of, there wasn't too many big body receivers. So I got to see people like Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb work their craft, or MG, Michael Gallup. Me and him were pretty close. So just taking things from their game, maybe how they prepare, how they choose to go about, their day-to-day was just something I know I could add for myself going down the line.
Having that semi-pro knowledge can be an advantage for any player in the UFL. With that in mind, he's ready to learn from Coach Johnson and likes what he sees out of the wide receiver room.
So far as that, he has a lot of expertise. He knows his stuff. So, anytime he's talking, I'm just trying to listen and soak in as much knowledge as I can. He's been with a lot of big time guys, so I'm just trying to soak in as much information as I can from him. Being a wide receiver, I definitely say look out in our wide receiver room. I think we have some good talent. I think we have a good core of receivers in that wide receiver room.
Vasher feeling confident of his wide receiver room, Coach Johnson also appreciates hiring a new offensive line coach in Tom Gable and the rest of the coaches on staff.
At offensive line, I went out and tried to get the best offensive line coach I could find, and I found Coach Tom Gable, who really helping us so much. I mean, he's a tremendous help. So doing that, fun guy to be around. The one thing about the staff and the coaches, all of them are good guys. And I think if you're gonna spend all these hours up here working, you want to surround yourself with good guys. So we have that. As long as we're doing that, I think we have a chance to win a lot of games this season.
Hearing everything from both Vasher and Johnson, this team is ready for revenge and wants to win every game this season. We'll see if that happens in their home opener versus the St. Louis Battlehawks this Friday night at Tedesco Stadium at 7 p.m. on Fox.
Congrats there to the Houston Roughnecks, and can't wait to see them again on Fox there at 7 p.m. versus the St. Louis Battlehawks. That's going to do it here in sports. Don and Shawna, back to you.
Max, thank you, and stay with us. Coming up on 25 News now at 10. We'll take a last look at your weather. Plus, imagine a dinosaur that's part sloth, part giraffe, and part Edward Scissorhands. Scientists just found one.
Stay up and watch, or I'm coming at you. Look at this. Look at how much this hurt. It's very, very, very painful. I'm surprised I'm not unconscious right now.
Scientists uncover a brand new dinosaur species in Asia. It's a wild one. A fully preserved claw fossil found in Mongolia's Gobi Desert belonged to a creature that looked like a mix between a sloth, a giraffe, and Edward Scissorhands. Standing about 10 feet tall, it used its massive curved claws to grab vegetation. Researchers at Mongolia's Institute of Paleontology actually found the fossil years ago, but now it's confirmed. It is the largest intact claw ever discovered. And I'm glad they're extinct, because that would be scary.
Hey, a sequel for Johnny Depp. Hey, could a 106-year-old baseball be behind the White Sox's bad luck? Well, some fans think so. The team hit rock bottom last season with 121 losses, and now they're looking for a turnaround. A baseball from the infamous 1919 Black Sox scandal, where players were accused of throwing games. It sat unnoticed in the Tribune Tower for decades until renovations in 2021 moved it to the Chicago Sports Museum. Coincidence or curse? The team has not had a winning season since. Now the ball is back at Tribune Tower and fans are hoping it breaks the streak just in time for opening day on Thursday. I might disagree with that because 2005, the White Sox won the World Series. And the team the White Sox beat in the World Series that year, the Astros. Anybody?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Did you?
Why would we not guess?
Yeah.
You know
So it was bad luck for the Astros, not for the White Sox.
Is that the team that needs the GOAT?
That's the Cubs.
No.
Yes,
That's the Cubs.
Yes.
Yes. Now,
Something about Chicago,
though. They have a Billy Goat as a mascot, right? And if the
longer
goat is happy, they win, right?
It's kind of a longer story than that. But you know, if people liked sunny days every day, they had bad luck today.
Today's not a good day for sunny days, but you know what? We had a whole streak of sunny days there for a while, and now we're paying the piper here. But it's good, folks. We're not complaining. We needed this rainfall. We've been very dry for so long that finally we're getting some substantial rain. We had a good solid 1.5 inches today. We're going to get another solid 1.5 inches tomorrow. And then Friday, we probably will see the rain begin to pull out of the area. So 2 more days of rather soaking rains, and it's important, necessary for us and for much of Texas. Just remember, drive carefully. We will likely see some flooding by the time we get to Thursday and Friday.
All right, keep an eye on it. Well, bucket list item here, a colorful aurora lit up the sky over Rovaniemi, Finland on Tuesday night. The auroras seen over the skies on the Arctic Circle were captured by a local photographer who said the lights danced for over half an hour with sharp arcs and stunning colors. That's how he described it. Strong auroras are common in the polar regions around the equinoxes, but the local photographer said this display was especially vivid and intense. In the northern hemisphere, the auroras are known as aurora borealis or northern lights, with March generally considered to be one of the best months to see them.
Ooh,
won't see anything like that here. Thanks for joining.